Hello everyone, in this video I want to talk about how some of us can do certain things at home to stop pesticide exposure related poisoning from escalating into some severe illnesses like organ damage or cancer, or even the minor symptoms that someone can get when they have some long term pesticide exposure. What people can do. One example that I saw online that isn't officially used for pesticide poisoning is the use of castor oil. Now, castor oil is a highly effective laxative that is used by people for their constipation problems. And castor oil packs have also been found to be beneficial for some eye related health issues, as well as it has been alleged to be useful for um, helping reduce tumor like formations or pain and inflammation in the body. Now, castor oil, being lipophilic in nature because it's a oil, has a component of use in helping with pesticide related health issues as well, because castor oil being lipophilic in nature, it can help if you are putting a castor oil compress say on your neck and you have inflammation, and if the inflammation cause was related to long term exposure from some pesticides that are lipophilic and have accumulated in those areas, because your body might be toxed out and might not be able to completely clear away naturally any extra toxic exposure that you are having to pesticides. So, in that case, if you are putting castor oil patches in the area where some lipophilic chemical is accumulated, then castor oil, if that chemical is soluble in castor oil, it will get drawn out by the castor oil. Similarly, in Indian ayurveda, sometimes people go for or detoxing regimens like panchakarma therapy, and in these detoxing therapies, usually some oil is also involved, either in the form of massages or in the form of oil detoxing to help detox any toxins that might have accumulated in the body. So, when oils are used in Ayurveda or even in naturopathy, some of those oils have the capacity to help in detoxing out any oil soluble chemicals that are harmful to our body. That's why, if someone is having health issues that they have recognized might be stemming from long term exposure to pesticides, I would recommend, if they can buy a good quality chemical and pesticide free oil, they can try out the castor oil method. I will post some reference videos along with this post as well, in order to for you to learn how to use the castor oil. But you have to be careful in buying a good quality castor oil, and also test it out in small quantities first, whether applying on an area or if you're consuming it for your constipation use. If it is not good quality, it can end up harming your health instead of benefiting. So, always the quality of product is important. Sometimes, even if you're using a brand for a long time, it is very important to be careful that if you have used a brand for long term, whether if there are any manufacturing changes that have happened, sometimes the same brand that could work for you for years and years might stop being effective. So, always be mindful and careful about the products you're using. And in Ayurveda also, if you don't go to a good location where clean things are used, then again the therapy can harm you than benefit. So, always use your judgment while trying out these therapies. For me, I went to precancerous levels. I had one thyroid nodule problem here, which wasn't cancerous but it was benign, But for the benign therapy, I had done some massages of my lymph node areas. I was doing some oil massages. Today my hair is dry, but I was trying even scalp massages, because if any pesticides are stuck in any parts of the body where because of lack of exercise or because of overloading of the toxicity in our body, sometimes these oil soluble pesticides can get accumulated in our body, and different parts either getting accumulated because the lymph node is highly like backed up from lots of toxins in the body, or it could just be simple accumulation of these oil soluble chemicals underneath our skin or scalp areas. It could also be because our liver might be toxed out and is not able to process out these chemicals. So various mechanisms that are biologically available in our body to help in taking out any toxic exposure to chemicals sometimes get overloaded because of multiple exposure to different chemicals or different things that are harming our body. As a result, sometimes we have to do additional measures. Just taking medications doesn't help. Doing massages helps. Taking ayurvedic therapy as a supplementary therapy can help. Doing your own self-care in avoiding excess exposure to pesticides can help, because in your own home environment what people can do is either completely stop using chemical pesticides. That is the best solution when your health is going worse and you're having health issues that I've posted in my previous videos, which are some of the health issues that can crop up with chronic poisoning. Chronic poisoning means when long term poisoning has happened, and that long term poisoning can happen to any one of us who could have had pesticide exposure in the long term, daily, weekly, monthly, via different sources. And some of the sources also I've listed in my previous videos, but I'll reiterate again. You can have pesticide exposure from your food. So switching to organic, chemical free, hormone free food would be beneficial. If you're getting pesticides from even your processed food that you're buying, can also happen, which I have found recently in India, but I think it can happen globally anywhere, because say a facility is manufacturing milk or a milkshake or a fruit juice or any processed drink that you love to drink, or even a processed medication that which is a health drink that you might be drinking, or a medication that has been recommended by a doctor as a supplement, health supplement by the doctor. All these powders or drinks can also have inadvertent unknown chemical exposure to pesticides if the facilities haven't been mindful about pesticide exposures, if the people operating those facilities don't know how pesticides can be present in the items that they are manufacturing. In that way you can get pesticide exposure. Or if your home water supply has got contaminated over years of use of pesticides or decades of use of pesticides, not by you but maybe your locality is using a lot of pesticides. So if your home water supply is contaminated and you're using that same water for drinking purposes, cooking purposes, or you have a machine which is filtering out some of the chemical contamination from your water supply, but your machine doesn't filter out every chemical contamination of your water, then you may have these pesticide exposures even from your water supply. And if you use that water, even if it is filtered, if the filtration system hasn't filtered it appropriately, or the filtration system has some malfunction going on, then that water that you're using for your cooking and drinking, or even the water that is used for bathing, all of which can be sources of pesticide exposure and then long-term pesticide exposure related chronic poisoning symptoms. And that's why it's very careful to be mindful about what you're drinking, how you're drinking. If your food starts smelling off after cooking it, if your food and drinks are smelling off after you've cooked it, then it's better to start checking what is the problem zone in your home. And the more aware and mindful people are about their health and healthcare, the better quality of health people can have, and they can avoid end of life or midlife related healthcare costs, or even if your some healthcare costs are unavoidable, what people can avoid is the long term chronic suffering from some of these disease states that can develop when you have long term decades of exposure to pesticides. And the cleaner lifestyle we can try to live, the better ways we can try to incorporate in our life to keep our lives healthy, the healthier you will be. So I hope this video was helpful. If you want some alternative solutions to pest control, I would recommend using some strong plant-based oils, just pure plant-based oils instead of and scented oils from plant extracts that could be used for swiping and mopping your kitchen areas if you want to keep the kitchen free of pests. But the best way to keep any kitchen and home free of pests is to ensure that you can keep as clean a home environment as possible. And if you have pets in your homes or in your neighborhoods, allow for the natural environment to exist for the pets and stray animals as well, because these stray animals and birds are naturally designed to eat pests, but they can't eat the small insects, they can't eat the bugs, they can't eat the worms, they can't eat the rats and rodents and other creatures that consume your food, or that can cause some diseases if too much of pests are around. But if you are using pesticides, you're adding to an additional layer of disease, because then what you're doing is you're polluting the earth by killing animals using chemicals that will eventually not just pollute the earth directly, but if those animals now have consumed, animals and insects have consumed the any pest which was dead by pesticide poisoning, or any insect that was dead by pesticide poisoning, and if you have a cat in your home or in your neighborhood, the cat could naturally kill a rat, the cat could naturally eat some bugs. But if those bugs have chemicals in them, then the cat is not able to eat a chemical laced and poisonous bug. And same way, those bugs, if they had naturally died, and if a cat had consumed them, or even if a cat didn't consume them, some bugs have natural functions in eating away fungus and microbes from plants. They also have natural function in keeping our soil healthy. So now if those bugs are not allowed in normal numbers, then and if they are not healthy and they died because of pesticide poisoning, they are now polluting your land, which eventually, over time of pollution of the land from the dead animals that have been harmed by pesticides, or just regular unhealthy pesticides being sprayed everywhere, now your land is unhealthy. And when your land is unhealthy, you can't grow healthy trees. If you don't have healthy trees and plants, whatever food you're getting from your trees and plant, whatever oxygen you're getting from your trees and plant, that will also not be of the same good quality, high quality, as when earth is clean and pollution free. So pesticide pollution problem just doesn't harm humans, it harms the whole ecosystem of the earth, and it ruins the natural ecosystem of the earth and prevents a natural harmony from existing on earth. So if you can try to switch your pesticide usage, change your lifestyle patterns so that you don't have to use pesticides in your daily lives or in your work lives. If you're working in a retail store or a hospital or a clinic or a business, or you're trying to store your grains away from animals and pests, remember that if the grains have some contamination in them, these animals and pests actually can help in eliminating bad quality food also from your quota of food that you have grown and stored. And humanity has to also stop hoarding things, because we are at an age where there is plenty for people to eat and live life luxuriously, or at least moderately. So storing of food and grains or hoarding of things has to reduce slowly over time. So try to start inculcating such habits in your life, and eventually, any kind of, even when farmers have crop failures because of one reason or the other, their crop failures are happening if they have overused a lot of pesticides, and their land has completely got spoilt now to grow good food and good quality food, because it doesn't have the right bugs in the land, it doesn't have the right insects, it doesn't have the right birds and other ecosystem, and along with the chemical contamination that is destroying their plants. So please think about this carefully. Start research, doing your own research, but any kind of modern research done on the benefits of chemical usages to stop plants from dying is redundant currently, or is becoming redundant, because now the earth is overloaded with artificial chemicals, and earth needs back the organic chemicals that can be good for agriculture, good for raising vegetables and other healthy products. Even for Ayurveda, we need healthy plants. We can't have plants sprayed with chemicals. Those Ayurvedic facilities that outsource their Ayurvedic chemicals and Ayurvedic plants from facilities which are using pesticides and fungicides are actually ruining again the basic core principles of Ayurveda. Now, Ayurvedic doctor might try to fight over what I am informing here. Anyone else, also farmer, might think I'm saying rubbish just because they might get more yield if they have used pesticides in the past. But that's past data, that's not current data. Pesticides have been in existence for over 70 years, and in these 70 years of usage, some pesticides have been over 70 years, some pesticides might be new, but whatever data has been existing has been done on a clean earth, and right now we don't have that same level of clean earth that was existing when these pesticides were used. And at that time, no one also studied you might have more yield of plants, you might be saving your plants from dying by, or being eaten away by a pest, or being eaten away by a bird or a rodent or a rat. But even if you say you saved some trees and plants from being eaten away, and you increased your yield as a result, you may not have the right nutritional quality and in that same quality that you produced, quantity that you produce. Because say there were 10 trees that you had planted, and if naturally, by the natural biological mechanism, one or two of those trees, fruits and vegetables would have been destroyed by animals and rodents and pests, there was a natural reason for those two trees to have died, because then the other 8 trees would be producing much more better quality food, because the soil is clean, because any kind of pestilence that could have been present in the other trees were eaten away by the plants and animals and natural ecosystem. And that's why those 8 plants would give you much better high quality yield. But if you allow all 10 trees to flourish, and those 2 trees that could have given you less yield now have given you a lot of plants and fruits and vegetables, but if those trees or plants were diseased plants, now you have sold a diseased product to the person who buys it from you. And now that diseased product, when it ends up coming and being consumed by a human, or it goes into Ayurveda, now that is spoiling the quality of both the Ayurvedic medicine where it was sold. It is also spoiling the quality of the human who consumes that plant and vegetable, which was saved by not being eaten away by a bug or a bird or a rodent. But even though it was saved by not being eaten away, It has diseases that human eyes can't see, which would have been consumed away by the senses of these bugs, because these bugs have been designed to eat away some diseased leaves. The plants, the birds, and when a bird is eating a fruit and the bird knows that this fruit is rotten, it will not eat the whole fruit. So it will give the farmer, a farmer who is aligned with nature will understand when his tree is diseased then from the animals and birds around his plantation, or a gardener can understand that too. But in modern times, what has happened is, over the last 100 years or even longer than that, the more artificial things that have been introduced into our plant raising and gardening activities, the natural alignment with nature has gone away. And as a result, also more diseased children are also being born. Children have congenital heart defect, congenital eye defect, and all these other birth defects, because not because simply because it's a genetic problem, but because their parents are consuming bad food while the child is born. After the child is born, they are consuming bad food. Their grandparents might have consumed bad quality food, which might not have harmed the health of the grandparent or the parent who consumed a pesticide laced food, but eventually there was a genetic alteration that eventually harmed the third generation, fourth generation, who has consumed something really toxic for generation after generation. So we need to change this on earth. This is the only way to become a healthier society now. But in order to make these changes, it will take time, and we can't all make these changes in one day, because we will fall sick, because our body is already used to a lot of pesticide exposure. So anyone who is listening to this video and has started observing that they have pesticide exposure related health issues, or they have started realizing that the reason why the crops are failing or plants are failing is because of pesticide related usages, I would suggest slowly taper down the usage and exposure to the chemicals, because if you suddenly stop using also these chemicals, or your body will go into the opposite thing, like how patients have drug withdrawal symptoms when people are addicted to chemical drugs and medicines that are harmful to them. The same way, if we suddenly stop using pesticide in large amounts, we will fall sick. So people have to stop using the pesticides that they are used to using, only using step by step measure. If anyone needs help in this, I would ask you to drop a comment, and I will try to provide some insights, further insights on how to do this step by step decontamination from pesticide usage and exposure in your lives. And anything else you have questions on, please drop a comment. I would love to answer them if I can. Thank you very much. Have a great day.